What up everyone? Today we're comparing two cameras that I own that I've seen people kind of ask questions about a lot. So I figured why not just make this video, compare these two cameras. They're similar in size, similar in price, and they're also similar in just the way they look. So let me just go ahead and give you a quick rundown of the differences between these two cameras. This camera is the Fujifilm X-T30 and this retails for around $899. And what I have it paired with today is the Fujifilm 27mm f2.8 WR. This camera is really small, and to me this camera feels pocketable and is probably the most pocketable interchangeable lens camera that you could find, except for the Fujifilm X-M5. The cool thing about this camera is it makes me want to be creative. It makes me want to go outside and shoot some photos. It makes me feel creative, and I think that's because of these really nice retro inspired dials that we see here, but also the black, it just looks amazing. It has slots for 7 custom recipes, so you could always kind of just flip through each recipe depending on your photo or depending on your creative choice. And sometimes having those recipes provide a moment of inspiration, because I'll just flip to one and things look kind of completely different. I'm like, oh yeah, this looks way nicer just with these simple color and simulation adjustments. So I really love this camera. It's small, it's lightweight, it's pocketable. It goes into any kind of puffer jacket or coat pocket that you have. It's also discreet. It doesn't draw too much attention, and it's really nice to hold in hand. Up next, we have the Fuji XS20, and this is one of my favorite Fujifilm cameras. But what's really nice about this camera is it's a similar size to the X-T30, but has this massive grip on the front here. So you can see you could hold this camera really well. The X-T30 does not, so you kind of have to hold the X-T30 really lightly, versus the XS20 where you could just one-hand it all day, feel zero fatigue. The XS20 for me is my workhorse camera. The grip is what makes it my workhorse camera, because I can hold this up here, I can shoot with it like that, feels really comfortable, or I could just hang it down by my side all day while I talk to the client and not feel really like I have something in my hand. The grip really turns this from a creative camera into a workhorse camera that you could shoot with all day. The battery life on the X-T30 is, let me say, not good. The issues here are it uses those kind of small, older batteries, and those burn out within a couple hours of shooting. I've not had a good experience with the batteries on this, even though it's such a wonderful camera. So this kind of forces me to bring extra spare batteries and always worry about when my battery is gonna die. I don't think this camera is good for professional use. It's really good for creative use, where you're just gonna take a few snaps here, a few snaps there, turn it back off, put it in your backpack, and then take a few more in a couple hours. On the other hand, the XS20 is workhorse material. I use this camera when I need to shoot sports. I do a lot of sports, and doing sports, you need to have cameras that last really long. And what's cool about this, it uses the newer battery, which has this kind of ridge in the middle, which is basically 2 batteries in one. You could shoot for a really long time. This is rated at like 400 to 500 shots, while the X-T30 is rated for 200 to 300 shots. But I've been able to shoot like 4,000 photos on this on a single battery. And that's also being outdoors in direct heat and sunlight. This did not disappoint. It withstood the extreme temperatures and shooting in extreme weather, and the battery didn't overheat or die too quickly. Let's get to the video specs. The X-T30 records 4K at 30 FPS. Video quality looks good, pretty standard for what the industry offers today. On the other hand, the XS20 does all that. The XS20 goes up to 120 FPS, but has the added benefit of shooting 6K open gate just on this tiny camera. Now, I've shot videos in 6K open gate, and just the massive scale of it looks really good. And it feels like how a film should actually look. It feels like we're going back to the old 3:2 aspect ratio, and that made the film just feel more immersive when you're watching it, especially if you're watching on a larger screen. The XS20 also has the advantage of having IBIS, which for video is, you know, very, very important, because you don't have to bring a gimbal along. The X-T30 has the added benefit of this flippy screen that kind of flips out like that, so you can position it either way. to shoot photos from high up, or you could position it this way to shoot photos from the hip. This is really handy for photography. On the other hand, the XS20 has this beautiful flip out screen here, and it rotates. I guess this is called the articulating screen. So you could always flip it, rotate it, and the benefit of this is you could do self-recordings where you could record yourself because you can see what you're actually shooting. So it's good for vlogging, but it's also good because you can rotate the screen in and it covers itself, and you could just throw it into any bag and it'll be protected. The X-T30 is more of a old school type of feel when you're actually shooting. It has the retro dials on top, the exposure dial, the shutter speed, and the, I guess, mode dial. And that makes it feel like you're actually operating an older film camera, which is a really nice experience to have. It's not necessary, but it differs from if you're shooting on Sony or any of those other manufacturers who kind of omit these dials and go with the popular PASM style of dials. I like this because it feels retro. It makes me have to think about what I'm shooting before I shoot it. It makes me be able to see all my controls at a glance without having to use the LCD here, which there's so much information on it. All I need is the main pieces of information, and having the retro dials here gives this that much added benefit. The other benefit is it also has 7 custom film recipes. So I have 2 of them set up to 2 different black and white recipes, and the others are different variations of film simulations that I've found across the internet, and I could post those in a later video. But for now, having those custom recipes, it's a moment for inspiration. The XS20, on the other hand, only has 4 custom slots, and it works with the traditional, or more, I wouldn't say traditional, but the more popular PASM, but also you get the added benefit of the C1, C2, C3, C4. So you could actually access your custom recipes just by turning this dial here. And this is great because you could quickly switch to your recipes without having to go in a menu system. But the disadvantage here is you only get 4 of these custom slots to store recipes. I have one set to black and white, and then I only have 3 other choices. It limits your creative abilities with this straight out like every day, but you could always add more. I do say that's a disadvantage, and they should have figured out how to get 7 custom recipes into this body. Those are the main differences between these 2 cameras. You can see they're quite similar size-wise, not much difference there. The XS20 is slightly longer and slightly heavier, but that's really, really negligible. You won't go wrong depending on which one you pick up. It's just, what do you want? Do you want a workhorse, or do you want a creative partner? It's up to you. If you enjoyed this video or found this video helpful, definitely like or subscribe or comment. This will help me to create more videos and inspire me, motivate me to create more videos such as this, comparing the cameras and comparing other cameras in the future. I'm out.